Después de la comida, espero que no se quede gente.
So good afternoon, everyone. This is a tricky time now because it's right after lunch. We're gonna talk about a very interesting topic: the social innovation ecosystem in Europe. So we're gonna start with Fabrizio Sestini, the person responsible for innovation, the connect of the European Commission. Let's hear Richard's introduction.
What we call the digital transformation, which is the new ways in which hyperconnectivity can network and citizens in order to address facing nowadays. The challenges can facilitate large-scale participation and engagement, for instance, in participatory budgeting, but also thanks to the global awareness created by the crowd mapping of data provided by open sensors owned by the citizens themselves, for instance, about radiation, air pollution, or traffic, and about the economic challenges, especially those related to the implementation of truly participatory low-carbon economy through collective awareness platforms enabling citizens to share information about how best to buy or to recycle food or products. I also think that digital social innovation may be crucially important for the development of the Internet itself, because it may drive different technological priorities, such as a decentralized data governance, where decentralization based on peer-to-peer and blockchain would prevent big companies from indiscriminately using our data as they are doing nowadays. As you know, we have been exploring all these areas and others within the CAPS projects in the real world with real communities of citizens involving a diverse and multidisciplinary constituency which is made of makers, of hackers, of students, of researchers, of social entrepreneurs, and of industries of any size. And we will continue to address these areas within future initiatives. I will just mention two which we are going to launch in October: the Next Generation Internet Initiative and the European Innovation Council 5 Million Prize on blockchains for social good. But we cannot stop here. As these CAPS projects and others are creating and testing new technologies and new models, they also show that there are significant economic and political challenges ahead of us, such as privacy and data ownership. And creating a better understanding and a broader awareness of these challenges among citizens and among policymakers is a key to achieve the full potential of hyperconnectivity in a way which is democratic and inclusive, which means to the benefits of everybody, and not just of the few people who can afford the new technologies or of the few big global companies capable of aggregating big data. To create this awareness, and I conclude, a broad community of innovators catalyzed by one of the CAPS projects has just launched an open manifesto for digital social innovation, which you can find online, and which is aiming at promoting bottom-up solutions leveraging on participation, on collaboration, on decentralization, on openness, and on multidisciplinarity. You are all welcome to read it, and if you subscribe to these goals, to sign it. I thank you for your attention, and I wish you an afternoon full of exciting conversations. See you soon.
Okay, so one we are placed thanks to Fabrizio. Session, there's people from all over Europe, so we can speak in any or all the languages. Also, if you want to participate, you can do it in Spanish. There are many Spanish speakers around here, so that's not an excuse to do not participate. So, all these people they are related to Fabrizio because they are working in similar areas in some point. I will introduce each one of them, but let me say quickly the names. This is Matt, Antonella, Francesco, Ines, Jason, Marco, and Massimo. Later on we will know a little bit more about one of them, and we will start with Matt. I think we've got something.
Nesta promueve y respalda proyectos de innovación social digital, buscando, generando y dando forma a nuevas iniciativas en Europa para afrontar los nuevos desafíos sociales de nuestro tiempo. El proyecto será presentado por Matt Stokes.
You want to stand up or you want to keep on sit? Perfect, perfect.
I'll see. Is this on? Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you for having me, especially to Yolanda and Angel for Civil Voluntarios. It's a real pleasure to be here, and it's been a really great morning with, I'm sure you all agree, some really exciting stuff going on. So I work for a charity called Nesta, based in London, which is an innovation foundation. And we exist to try and back ideas which can tackle some of the big social challenges of our time in areas like healthcare, democratic participation, education, and so on, environment as well. And over the past 3 or so years, Nesta's been quite deeply involved in digital social innovation in a couple of projects. The first called, rather inventively, Digital Social Innovation, and the second, Digital Social Innovation for Europe. And over those 2 projects, we've been trying to support the community of thousands of people across Europe who are doing really amazing things with technology to try and tackle social challenges. So we see things, as Fabrizio said, things like citizen sensing, things like crowdsourcing, all the way to things like blockchain for good, how we can use things like machine learning and artificial intelligence for good. And we've been trying to support them and support others in the ecosystem as well to try and really take digital social innovation to scale. We've seen that there's loads going on, and through our crowd mapping on our website at digitalsocial.eu, we've mapped about 2,000 organizations and 1,500 projects using tech for social good. And we know that that's probably only a snapshot of what's actually going on. But what we've also seen is that a lot of these projects have struggled to scale and haven't had as much impact maybe in kind of mainstream public service provision and mainstream charity provision as we might like to have seen. So in our work, we kind of try to do 3 main things. The first is to support the social innovators who are doing really great projects like the ones you've heard about this morning, like the ones you hear about the rest of today and also tomorrow. And we've done that through our website at Digital Social, which I mentioned. And we've also been running events and trying to connect practitioners to each other. So one of the things which I find can be a little bit frustrating because there's so much great stuff going on, and quite often we see a lot of duplication going on. So there might be great people doing something on, I don't know, citizen sensing in Barcelona, and there's also people doing great stuff on citizen sensing in Berlin, and they don't know that they're both doing fairly similar stuff. So one of our jobs is to try and kind of support those people, to meet other people, to get talking to them, and to share lessons, to share experiences, to learn from each other, to share with each other, and to, from there, help these great initiatives kind of grow and scale their impact. The second thing we do is trying to kind of get outside the circle of digital social innovation, which sometimes, as with a lot of kind of specialities can be a little bit insular, and try to really reach those people who aren't quite there yet in terms of understanding digital social innovation, what it can do, how to do it, and so on. And we find that the kind of main place for this is in the kind of mainstream charity sector. So while we work across Europe, I'm kind of done most research in the UK, and it's in a way quite shocking how some of the really quite big charities in the UK are really quite far behind on digital skills. We did a survey a couple of years ago on crowdfunding, which is one of the fairly simple digital tools to use, and about 60% of charities said that they hadn't done crowdfunding because they didn't have the digital skills. And obviously crowdfunding takes a lot of skills in terms of communication, in terms of marketing, but the actual core technology is not particularly difficult. It's done through a website, and the fact that so many charities found this too much to do is I think, quite a kind of sober awakening when we can quite often be caught up in discussions about kind of future technology or the future of the internet, and meanwhile there are people working day in, day out doing incredible stuff but don't understand quite how technology can help them. So we're trying to kind of work with them to help them understand how they can bring digital into their work, and that might be at one end of the scale literally how to upgrade software from Windows XP, and it might be at the other end to using citizen science or something. And there are some really great organizations also doing work in this space. So I don't know if any of you will have heard of, for example, CAST, which is an organization set up about 2 years ago in the UK, called the Centre for the Acceleration of Social Technology. And they do really, really great work working with non-profits, so these people who want to use digital but don't quite know how, and linking them with people who know about the tech and want to do social good, and running a non-profit accelerator, the world's first non-profit accelerator for tech. And they've produced some really great work. So, for example, they worked with Oxfam on developing a kind of card scheme which enables people on really low incomes to save maybe €1 or €2 a week when they go shopping, and then have a rainy day fund so that if one day their fridge breaks down or their boiler breaks, they can have a little bit of money to get that thing sorted. And these things are really delivering impact. And we think this is super, super important to delivering the impact of digital social innovation at scale, because charities are essentially one of the biggest providers of kind of social alongside the government in a lot of countries, including in most countries in Europe. And we just think things can be done a lot better. They have really strong networks. They have maybe thousands of people in their databases, thousands of people on their mailing list, thousands of donors who can really, their intelligence, their time, their skills, their assets can be harnessed for social good. And I think one of the key things which we really, as a community, need to work on over the next few years is bringing in people who aren't maybe as au fait with the tech as some of the people as we might be, and really trying to say, how can we bring you on board and take these initiatives from trying to start our own network to look at to getting into a network that already has 10,000 people who they can send an email to, or whatever the case may be. And the same kind of goes for the public sector and for funders as well, who are quite behind the curve on digital. So we're doing a lot of work to try and kind of persuade them of the benefits of digital. Obviously, the public sector is notoriously quite risk averse, and with a lot of this technology, it's quite understandable. It's open to political challenges. A lot of the stuff is about devolving power, which the politicians might not be too keen on, especially in fields like citizen participation. And on the other side, sometimes these things get some of the projects we work with, for example, bringing citizens into public service provision, can be kind of seen as a shield to cover up government cuts and get bad press for that. So it's difficult, but we're trying to kind of persuade them of the benefits and then start delivering the impact of digital social innovation at scale. And then the third thing we're trying to do is support kind of systems change through working with policymakers. So working with people like Fabrizio and his team in the European Commission, but also working with cities. Cities are a kind of real hotbed for digital social innovation. They have a density of people, of assets, of good infrastructure, of clusters of innovation. And we've seen really amazing stuff going on, and there are some cities doing amazing stuff in digital social innovation. The kind of, I guess, poster child is Barcelona, but there's also great stuff going on in a lot of other cities. Amsterdam, for all we heard this morning about its maybe not perfect work with Google, is doing a lot of really interesting stuff as well, as are maybe lesser known cities like Bologna in Italy is doing really great work on kind of collaborative economy stuff. So we're trying to encourage policymakers in those places to share their lessons with people who might be a little bit further behind, and to encourage cities who haven't quite thought about how digital social innovation might be able to help them to start thinking, how can we bring this into public service provision? How can we bring this into using data to make our transport systems work better? How can we empower citizens to have a say over how their cities run, over how the money's spent, over what their urban developments look like? All these issues which are close to people's heart and which we've seen from a lot of examples people do care about and do put in the time. So they're the kind of three things: supporting the innovators, supporting people who aren't in the field of digital social innovation yet, and trying to affect policy change as well. And we believe that by trying to do these three things together, we'll be able to take digital social innovation from what is still, a few years after it kind of started to emerge, is still fairly niche. Whether we call it digital social innovation, or civic tech, or tech for good, or social tech, it's still not really something that your average person in the street would know about in most places. It's something that I have worked on for 2 years, and my mum still doesn't really know what I do and understand it, despite my best efforts. And I think we really need to get it into the mainstream through working with charities, with the public sector, and broadening our circle to try and bring on board those who aren't yet on board before we can actually take digital innovation to scale. And if that sounds a bit pessimistic, I think we are starting to do really well at kind of grasping the opportunity, and we've seen really great examples, some of which we'll be hearing from today. And I think over the next few years, now that it's quite an established field, we'll be able to continue supporting digital social innovation and bring it into kind of the mainstream, and then hopefully, maybe at the next MPod era, we can say that the people in the street do really know what this is all about. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Let me ask you, no, there's no worry. Is it easy to find, to identify that innovators between the citizens? It's quite easy.
Sorry.
Do you think the people, the citizens, their aim is to work with you, to innovate, to collaborate with you?
So we tend, I mean, as an organisation, we are kind of, I guess, one step removed from a lot of the kind of types of projects we've heard about today. So we're more about kind of supporting the practitioners who are working directly with citizens. But I think there is a lot of appetite. I mean, if you see particularly, I think, the kind of political developments and economic developments over the past couple of years, people are looking for change, and people are excited about change. And as examples like, you know, Barcelona or Madrid's participatory budgeting, or Paris's participatory budgeting, have been really big successes. They've involved thousands of people, still a relatively small amount of the population, but thousands of people saying, I want my tax money spent on a new playground for my kids, or I want taxpayer money spent on a new care home for my grandparents. And I think people are really excited. It's just about making sure they can identify how they can contribute, and again, going back to harnessing the kind of established organizations, so things like big charities who everyone recognizes, things like your local, your city's transport authority, and getting them to advocate for it and to commission it, because for all the good work that the practitioners are doing, they're still kind of small players compared to some of the really big organizations who really, at the click of their fingers, can engage thousands of people. So I think as long as we get them on board, citizens are really keen to get involved.
Okay, thank you, Matt. I really want you the best luck of the world.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you very much. Now it's the turn of Antonella Passani. He will explain us about the evaluation of the impact, no, for the social innovation.
Yeah.
That's one of your areas because as I read in your curricula, you were specialized in so many things. I think there's a short video explaining, introducing you.
Impact Assessment for Social Innovation es un proyecto dedicado a evaluar el impacto de iniciativas sociales. Proporciona herramientas para trazar la hoja de ruta de los proyectos, calculando sus efectos políticos, económicos, sociales o ambientales. El proyecto será presentado por Antonella Passani.
Yeah, I will first of all like to say why my curriculum is a little bit schizophrenic, which is because I'm a sociologist, a social scientist I was born as a cultural anthropologist. And I don't know if you are familiar with academics word and anthropology. It's not that everybody wants to put a lot of money in it, of course. So I started as anthropologist and started engaging with technology and working with children and self-representation of identity for migrant children, trying to understand how they can put in image what they're thinking about, who they are, what they want to be. But then the project finished and I had to pay the rent, and I want to pay the rent, most importantly. And in the company I was working for, they said, okay, there is a project about technology. You know nothing about technology, but you speak and you know European Commission project. So why you don't jump in the unit of technology? And I say, yeah, I have to pay the rent. I will be very happy to join you. So I spent the last 16 years of my life working with software engineers. And for many, many years, I have been the only woman in the projects and the only social scientist in the projects. That have been very challenging at the beginning, but very, very interesting. And I'm so happy that now is normal and well accepted the fact that technology per se is not the solution, not even the topic, but interdisciplinarity and how to use technology for social good or for environmental good is becoming every day more common. Still, most of the people that is training in humanities know nothing about technology and are scared about a website. And it's the same about the charities, as Matt was saying. This is a huge problem in European culture, I think, and the challenge that I think we all have the mission to overcome. Really, there is a lot of work to be done for the next generations, and because I don't think that the digital-born generation exists. They are using tools. They do not have any idea how this tool has been developed or programmed. So I think one of the topics is that on the floor to be discussed also in these 2 days. And the reason why we developed, thanks to the CAPS program methodology for the impact assessment of digital social innovation was exactly that. So to communicate what are the results beyond the economic impact. Because normally technology, if you work on technology and work on the impact of technology, what they normally analyze is revenue. So if you do a technology, if the technology is successful, you make money. Your company grow, and you, as a social impact, maybe you generate employment, job places. But this is not enough for a technology per se, and not for technology for social good, because maybe they still be small, they still do not earn a lot of money, do not generate bigger revenue, at least at the beginning or even after a long run, but have important impacts on environment, on society, at political level. For example, social innovation can generate new institutions in which, for example, citizens and consumers have a different role from the previous one, or can really rebuild the social life of a neighborhood or a community. or school institutions, for example. And all these aspects normally are neglected in the evaluation because all the focus is on economy and money, which is, I'm not saying that it's not important, but cannot be the only way of measuring the success or the impact of an initiative, especially when we talk about social goods and environmental issues. So we developed this tool that you can find online, and of course so you can use it, which is modular. Also because, as you said, I mean, we talk about technology for social good or digital social innovation, but there are very, very diverse projects. So it can be on environment, can be on also inside environment, can be on air pollution, can be on noise pollution, can be of water, can be on marine biotechnology, can be everything. So you have to find a way to measure the impacts in a modular way in which you can just take the bits that is relevant for your project and still make a story out of that and communicate to funders, to government, for example, what you're doing, but also to citizens. Because at the end of the day, we also have, I mean, I feel like I have the challenge to explain to European citizens that the money put in European projects, like in Horizon 2020, they have results that are valuable. It's not just money waste in the vacuum. Sometimes this can happen, but sometimes they have important results that need to be evaluated and communicated. So this is the work we have been doing in the IA4SI, which is a closed project. And after that, we started a new project called CHIC, which is still, again, supporting this kind of project for networking. Together with the project cooperated with Nested, we collaborated a lot on this in order to provide them the information they need, the occasion to network, to collaborate, to grow. And also to distill the good practices. So not only the impact in terms of quantitative impact, but also what can be learned and copied in the good way by others. So this is the process that we are running now in terms of research, so analyzing how they are doing things. For example, how they are engaging citizens. Mm-hmm. And you asked, Matt, this is a huge challenge because people want to participate, but how you get in touch with the people who want to collaborate, and moreover, it's easy to engage people that is already sensitive to an issue, but how you engage people that is not interested in that, but should be interested, and how you explain it. Like this morning we talk about cyber rights. How you explain people that is a matter that is relevant for them in their everyday life. It's not that easy. So this is one of the topics we are searching on. And finally, I speak very quickly, so sorry for that. If I need to slow down, you just say, oh.
No, perfect. Thank you.
And I will try to slow down. And we supported, the CHIC project supported the emergence of the manifesto that Fabrizio Sestini was mentioning. And there are a couple of slides about this. Thanks. The manifesto that you can read on the CAPSI portal is the result of a consultation with many actors around Europe, which selected 5 points to be stressed in order to push for a further recognition of this community, to make the community voice heard, and to put some pressure, especially in the European Commission, but also to the national government and local government, in order to put the digital social innovation in their agenda. There is need to support. This project cannot run independently. There is the need to be part, to be recognized, to have a space like a sandbox in which experimenting, understand what works, replicate, disseminate, propagate, and not necessarily grow in the linear terms of the way. So this version is the results of this process, and now we ask everybody, any organization, but personally every person in each organization, to endorse the manifesto. So you can just go to next slide, to the website, look at the 5 topics, which define what is digital social innovation and what we ask to support digital social innovation. and sign. And if you don't sign, if you could not sign, we understand that, and we really ask you, because we are interested in that, to tell us why. Which are the points that you cannot sign in, and how you think can be improved, because this process is still ongoing, and there's still space for improvement, of course. We want to hear the community and make the manifesto really reflect the idea of the community as much as possible. The idea is to finalize the process by the end of the year and then go presenting it in Brussels, inviting as many policymakers as possible in order to ask for a better recognition of this topic.
So that's the goal.
Yeah. I mean, the CAPS program, for example, is going to end now. They had just the last call, so there will not be another one. So one of the space in which this community could experiment will be just closed up. Mm-hmm. And we want to find new spaces. And it's needed to demonstrate, the impact assessment is also for this, we need to demonstrate that there is a reason for financing and supporting these initiatives, but also make visible a community that has been mapped by Nesta with more than 2,000 projects, but maybe is bigger, even bigger than that, but it's not organized enough to ask for support. So we're trying to help this process, which is of course not an easy one, and we are a small project, but we are doing, let's say, our best.
No, for sure, I'm in agreement with you that when you evaluate and when you track all what you do, I think that's the point, because you can see, in fact, what the results. No, so thank you for the good job.
Thank you.
Let me introduce you to Francesco Severino Nucci from CEST, that we've got also. Have we got a video? In visual language, no?
Yeah.
We just part of the past, no?
At the beginning of my career.
So that's why I want to see you.
CEST es una iniciativa que busca dar respuesta a desafíos sociales clave, apoyando a la comunidad tecnológica europea y a emprendedores sociales. Pone el foco en empresas sociales, redes comunitarias y fundaciones no lucrativas. El proyecto será presentado por Francesco Severino Nucci.
Maybe it's possible to see the website of CEST. First of all, CEST is a completed project, similar to and this is a PT, because it's a project that the goal of the project is to found or invest in support social innovators. So this is the perfect audience for a new CEST, to support you in some way for a new CEST. And in this sense, I think it's very important to have that you will sign the manifesto, because this is a way to push the European Commission in support this kind of initiative. I am from a large company, a large Italian company. We have many projects in different fields, starting from big data or Internet of Things, software engineering. But this is CEST is not a project, is not a business as usual project. Is something different and new for us, because for the first time we ask the people to participate, actively participate in the project, presenting or proposing ideas and new prototype into the digital solution. And in the website it's possible, maybe not here, but you can navigate and see maybe in the project. There should be a menu on the. But anyway, if you navigate in the project, you can see that we found many different initiatives. And something that is interesting for us is understanding the possibility to scale up. For the, if you go here, you can see call one, down again. So this is the first, we organized 3 open calls where the people can present ideas. And here you can have the list of these ideas. And this is very interesting, it's very challenging, because it's something that is, we received a lot of ideas from many different kind of people, students or people working in large industry. So you can understand that this is completely different. And but this is the first call that means a small amount of money, just to give the people that have some ideas to work a little bit on this idea and present a document. Then we will have the call 2 and the call 3 that are there. For instance, if you see the call 2 winning project, up, that's one. This is very interesting, because we will here receiving, you can navigate in the website, and there is also some video from these people. The first one is about a civil organization in Spain that are very active in data journalism, in understanding and how the people can be a better transparency in the democracy in Spain, but also in Europe. And this is very interesting for us because, as I told, we are a business company. So one of the questions can be why, as a business company, not an academic or not a no-profit organization, you will dedicate this time and these resources to produce and to manage trust. And the reason is that I think that in terms of business, this is absolutely a good opportunity, because these people have good ideas that can be also good ideas for business. And in a participatory and transparency way. For instance, with these people, we know these people thanks to CHESS, because we found this organization in Spain, and then we have presented another project with them. That is a project will start next year. It's a project about using big data to contrast fake news. So this is absolutely important in this moment, is absolutely very under the lens, and this is a possibility for us as a company to be in relationship with them. Another good example, if you go down, is, the next one. This is an interesting project about accessibility, but now go down, magenta. This is very interesting. It is from the University of Florence, and it is an application to traffic flow and traffic monitoring. But usually the large city organize the monitoring of the traffic flow, putting a large video camera and around the city, and this is very cost, because you should build the place and work in the road to put this camera, and this is quite expensive. The idea of these people, also thanks to CHEST, because they understand, and thanks to the ecosystem of digital social innovation, that can be an active participation of the people, of the citizen, as already the previous presentation mentioned this aspect. And so how don't use this the people in the city to put a camera maybe in a window or in a shop or in a restaurant where there is some particularly traffic node or important road in a city. In this way, it's just the cost of a small camera. They used an open source hardware, not Arduino, but another one, and so it's very cost effective. With €100, you can put a camera. In this way, they can monitor the traffic in Florence in a very cost-effective and efficient way. And now the official authority of Florence asked to use the system. And this is very interesting for us because, as I told, we have seen many European funded projects with a lot of money. And let me say that CEST is very effective in terms of money that the Commission spent, Fabrizio Sestini, that is in some way our money because it's the citizen money. And the money that have been spent in CEST, in my opinion, is one of the best way to spend money because it is very cost effective. It's very, we have produced, not we, but the CEST people, that the people involved produced some better results, absolutely fantastic in terms of the small amount of money. You know, there is a project that are around 10 millions of investment of the Commission, even more, and this is a small project that can distribute a lot of money, small money to the people, but obtaining large and important results. So basically, this is our experience, and unfortunately, the project is ended, but I think that there is many possibilities to present similar projects in the European Commission, to the European Commission, because they start to understand that this way to have open calls, to have, this is a so-called cascading project, because it's a project that will found other projects. It's a good way to spend the public money. Thank you.
What do you, which are the projects that the CEST community likes the most? What are the favorites from the CEST community?
It's depending what you mean about CEST community. In the first call, we try to use a crowdsourcing approach to evaluate the project. One of the problems of the project is when we receive the proposal, how evaluate the proposal. This is a big project. You know, you say, what is the best project that the community like? But maybe I like something, you like something different. So one of the big problems is understand how evaluate the project. And this the proposal, and this is a problem for the Commission as well. Yeah. So in the first call, we try to use a crowdsourcing approach. We asked the community to vote, and you will see. I don't remember which is the first one, but you will see in the website. And this is the first one, in the better for the community. But this is, I mean, it's tricky. Because maybe it's similar to Facebook. You win if you have many friends. And it's not always many friends means the best project. In the second and the third course, we use a sort of mixed approach using also external evaluators. And this is the result. Again, you can see the result there. But it's naturally one problem, I think, for the public organization, for the government, is how decide where put the money. This is a big challenge.
Perfect. Thank you, Francesco.
Thank
you. The next is Ines Dinant. Is also an anthropologist. I really love when there's anthropologists. Of course, engineers has to make their work, but anthropologists will give that human skin. So thank you for that. So we've got a small video.
OpenCare es una plataforma global orientada a la asistencia médica y social. Su objetivo es la búsqueda colaborativa de soluciones abiertas, dando respuesta a necesidades y problemas reales. El proyecto será presentado por Jason Ballet.
First of all, good afternoon, and thank you to Ciber Voluntarios to have this space to be able to present Socratic. We have a little video that explains in big lines the process that we are supporting in social innovation. Maybe we can start with that, and then I will explain. So what we want is, as it appears at the end of the video, is change the world. So we, yeah. So what is Socratic? Socratic is to put people together to create a community in order to help social innovation processes to come to a good end. So the process itself, well, what we have seen when developing and thinking about the methodology that is applied in the platform is that, first of all, a lot of people is doing social innovation without knowing that they are doing social innovation, and some people think that social innovation is not something that they can do because it's such a big concept that it scares. It's like, no, it's not something for me at the same time that they are doing social innovation. So at the end, Socratic, once through the project, we have developed a methodology that, that is now applied in the platform that can help people to solve problems that they've seen around them. Social problems that can be very simple or much more complicated. And what we do is that through using the platform, we guide these people, the person, to the good solution and to develop the solution and to get to this systemic change. One of the very important points of Socratic is about the community. As you have seen, there is a lot of, in the video, there are a lot of little person working together, and that's one of the important things, because someone can have a very, well, can see a big problem and cannot see that as a person on its own, that she or he can give a solution or bring a solution to that. So they can go to Socratic, put it there, and ask people to get help. First, to understand better which is the problem, and then to try to see how to address and find a solution to this problem. In all the process, there is this possibility to the community to enter in contact with different persons, with different, that has different profile that can help to solve this problem, no? And so that's very important for us to all the platform to and it has been actually a quite big challenge to make it easy and to create a space in which you can know a lot or you cannot know how to address things, but it cannot stop you to take action and to go further with some ideas that you could have. So this is what Socratic is about. It's about solving problems, working in community. You can participate in all the process. You can just participate in some moments. The important thing is that we created a space in which anyone that wants to do something find a place in some part of the process to be able to bring how do you say, el pequeño grano de arena, the little grain of sand, like literally translated, until a bigger process, no? And that sometimes too, maybe starting like that, then afterwards the people can be more empowered to be able to start working from a different point. Also through all the process, well, this is this part of the people who are acting, but what we also very try to make clear in the process is to introduce the beneficiaries, the person who have the problem into the process, and to be constantly in contact with the person, the solution, well, and the collective, the solution is for, no? I am an anthropologist, so for me the person is in the center. We are not talking about users, we are not talking about consumers, we are talking about people, person, and it has to be in the moment through all the process. And so it's also something very important because we think that it's the key of success. So this is in very quick what Socratic is, and if you have questions afterwards, you can make them.
Thank you, Ines. I would like to question, to make you a little question. How do you imagine an example of the people who will join Socratic? Imagine an example.
It can be anyone.
Yeah.
I think
An example.
An example. No. No, one of the good things is that I think that there is no example. I'm sorry, but because it's another element that we try to do here is that at the end, for example, in the project we are working with two pilots. One is the university in NTNU in Norway, and the other one is Cibervoluntarios. And it's very interesting because the characteristic of the person and the type of activities and the context itself of the university on one side and Cibervoluntarios on the other is very different. But at the same time, the tool may be very useful for both contexts. So I cannot say if there is like one kind of user. Actually, our goal is that there is no one type of user, but that anybody from any age, any backgrounds, anyone that wants to be able to participate can do it. And this is one of the very important points.
I'm sure it's going to be a big success. Congratulations for the work. Perfect.
Hopefully.
Thank you, Ines.
Thank you.
Now I'm introducing Jason Ballet. Jason is a graph writer. He's an expert in visualization and analysis of networks and graphics. And he's prepared.
OpenCare es una plataforma global orientada a la asistencia médica y social. Su objetivo es la búsqueda colaborativa de soluciones abiertas, dando respuesta a necesidades y problemas reales. El proyecto será presentado por Jason Ballet.
Okay, hello everybody, pleasure to be here. So what I'm going to talk about is not really OpenCare in itself, but more about my part in the project, because as you can see, we have. Go next.
Speak.
Okay. Wait, that's not the right one. Yeah, this one. Okay, so there's a few different actors in the project. You end up with having my part, which is the University of Bordeaux. So yeah, I'm a universitarian, sorry. Then we have OpenCare, which is obviously the project which gathers everybody else. But we also have some people from Edge Riders, which is an enterprise which is kind of help gathering new people which are on the edge of society. Then we have Symbols, which is a foundation which helps fund some project. And then we have WeMake, which is a Fab Lab, and the community of Milano, which has worked with WeMake very intricately. So what we want to see, actually, is to help solve an issue which is actually quite a concern for all of us, which is, of course, healthcare. So as you can see, for the last 20 years, the part of the GDP, so it's the gross domestic product, has kept rising, so through all European Union, so it's the average value for the European Union. As you can see, it goes from 8% to more than 10%, so it's quite a huge part of the domestic product. So what we want to see, of course, is to use social innovation to help fix these issues. So you know social innovation, we keep talking about it all the time. The principal goal of OpenCare, of course, is to adapt this problem just for healthcare. But we want also to know how we can develop and deploy this intelligence, how we can help contributing to the care provision and reform for the Europe. And we want to take a look at, so it's our part, how we can actually advance this kind of intelligence and use, in a case, social semantic analysis or social network analysis. So that's more what I'm going to talk about. If you have any question about the project as a whole, you are welcome to ask them away. But I cannot guarantee I'll be able to answer them. Okay, so how does it work? As you know, it's the base of social innovation. Somebody has an idea, And once they have an idea, they want to share it with the world. So what we use, we have a platform which allows us to post these ideas. And then obviously some people can actually see what's happening there and give some ideas or some feedback on it. So we can have maybe some specific information, some new point of view or piece of the puzzle. Then we can have also some way to rework it, rethink it. Maybe have some sort of feasibility analysis or so on. And of course, there's also some people talking about cats everywhere. So what we want to do from here is we have an ethnographer, which is here to help us in the project. So we have all this discussion happening between all the users. So, sorry, I'm not supposed to work. Okay, it's user of the platform, not consumer. So all the people who are talking about those ideas, and what the ethnographer does is, I'm going to say she because it's Amelia who's working on the project. She's actually looking into this conversation, and she starts to add some annotation code. Okay, so the annotation code says, okay, this person has an idea about, I don't know, let's say drones, for instance. And then somebody who has answered to the ID say, okay, we can adapt them to this kind of, say, the social scientist. So we end up with having all this ethnographic code, which allows us to say, okay, this conversation say something about these topics, this conversation say something about this topic, and then we have different sort of topics, which end up popping all over the place. And what we want to do afterward is to actually extract those topics. Okay, there's a lot of slides. And we want to draw some sort of connection between these topics. So it allows us to say, okay, when we have this topic, there is a good chance that this topic will also come. So for instance, in the case of drone, okay, drones are great, but maybe they imply that the project will be costly, or maybe if you say in the case of operation, you say, okay, we can have some surgical operation, but it implies that a specialist has to be present, and so on and so on. So we end up having all those different links in between. Okay. And so there's another network which goes about that. So if we apply to a project, we end up with having something like that, which is obviously completely illegible, so you don't understand anything which is happening there. And that's why it's our part to actually try to skim through all the data and understand what is happening there. Okay, so more on the project, we have all those keywords which allows us to actually understand what is happening in different projects and or the different conversations. So as you can see, we have a lot of discussion which goes about the migration, because in the last 2 years it was actually kind of a hot topic, and we also have a lot of spoken discussion which goes about design intervention, mental health, community-based care, and so on and so on. And so what we have is we have this conversation between 280 person, 500 discussion, 2,500 comments, and so on and so on. And obviously we have to do some filtering afterward. So I'm guessing I'm a bit short on time, so I'll go through it. So for instance, this one is a sort of example that I have a network about stress. So as you can see, when people speak about stress, they end up speaking about mental health, self-care, art and health care, empowerment, depression, and so on and so on. So what we can do from here is to have all those kind of topics and study what is happening there. So another example, this time focus on one specific discussion to see what's happening there. And then we have a focus on different users. So we are able to do all kind of filtering on them. Okay. So what we really want to do is to end up with this kind of result, to be able to see how people actually discuss with each other, to see how they can help in contributing, and to end up with having, being able to use the expertise of the user, so this collective intelligence, which is underlying in every community, and to actually use it to advance social innovation. So, the final word. Obviously, this is kind of a new take on ethnography, but it's still very interesting, and it's kind of scalable, provided that you have enough ethnographers. So we have a whole tool which is actually used for this kind of visualization. So if you want to try it, it's available at graphrider.opencare.cc. Or if you want an in-person demonstration, don't hesitate to call me up. Okay. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. So there is still a lot more that we may not have seen. What did you expect?
So as you can see, the networks are really dense. So we are not able, so we are still a kind of a small team, so we are not able to go through all the data as it's in itself. And the people who actually are helping as moderators on the platform to take a look at the conversation know a lot about the data, but there is still some sort of connection between those discussions that we do not know. So this is what I mean. It's not, as I say, it's supposed to be like about social innovation, but the fact that we are opening this analysis to the whole world means that we are kind of expecting from people to take a look at it and say, okay, I see a connection between maybe this kind of topic and this kind of topic, and it's happening a lot, so I want to take a closer look at that and see what can emerge from this kind of association.
Sounds great, Jason. Congratulations. Thank you. Thanks. Okay. Let's see who's coming, Marco. Let's see who's coming. Jason. Dun, dun. Yes, Marco Sacchi from Common Fair. Marco is a designer in the technology related to register and accountancy, and he knows everything about the nature of money. But I don't know what are you going to tell, so...
Common Fair es una plataforma que busca impulsar un nuevo modelo económico a través de la colaboración, experimentación y solidaridad, para impulsar respuestas sostenibles a dificultades cotidianas. El proyecto será presentado por Marco Sacchi.
Thanks Cyber Voluntarios for the organization, and Malaga is very cool. I mean, thanks. I'm having fun being
Thanks
here.
to you.
Thanks for those that came today, and I'm gonna do my 10 minutes starting by who I am, and then I will delve a bit into Common Fair, because this will allow me to show you that I don't know everything about the nature of money, but you know why I'm here and why I do what I do, because the main message I would like to give you is you should be concerned about the nature of money, because you should be concerned to have a money system that works for you. And well, if you think that it doesn't work for you today, and in my opinion, it doesn't. So my story is very simple. I'm Italian. My father is Italian. My mother is from Mozambique. And I was born in Italy. So as you see, it's yin and yang, it's black and white all the time in my life. And I have been a very committed social activist, political activist from the left. And I still am, although the left doesn't exist anymore, at least in Europe. You know, everything happened actually in July 2001. Today is the 16th anniversary of the Twin Towers. I didn't look at the news, but it's not a big theme anymore, apparently. And it was very timely, because in July, there was, in 2001, the G8 in Genoa, and a guy got killed. I didn't go to Genoa because I knew that it would have been heavy, and it was heavy. People got tortured in the school, at the Diaz. People got traumatized for years. Carlo Giuliani was killed. And then at that point, I got it sort of personal, because I said I could have been him, but I decided not to go because I didn't want to get into trouble. And I didn't imagine this sort of treatment from the state at that time, but then I said, okay, we can go really, I mean, to go bad doesn't have real limits. And I said, okay, I was studying philosophy, the bachelor at the time, philosophy of language, and I got really interested in finding out what was inside the red zone, because all the trouble was because the demonstrators wanted to go into the red zone where the head of states were. The police didn't allow them. Carlo got shot. And I said, okay, what's inside there? Okay, is the G8, so it's the economic system, head of states, the most powerful country in the world. And then I did a master in philosophy and economics. And what got me really hooked was money. Because if you notice, you never have anybody that wins the Nobel Prize in economics for a research on money. And so I got very interested because I said, well, what's going on there? And it turned out that everybody thinks about money as a tool from Aristotle until Keynes and nowadays. So it's a tool, it's a unit of account, a tool with three functions, a unit of account, means of exchange, store of value. And we can use it for these different functions to make our economies flow, if there is enough money around. But then it turned out, digging more, and I prefer this definition, money is not a tool, money is an agreement. And again, coming from the study of language, if you study money, then if you take a banknote and you read what's on a banknote, it's a promise to pay. The governor of the central bank signs it, so it becomes real, and it's just a piece of paper. So a 100 euros banknote costs 3 euro cents to be produced, but then when the central bank issue it, it values 100 euros because they have the authority to do so. And so going on in my studies, then I started a PhD in England, and then Bitcoin came on the scene. I noticed that it's possible, for example, we have the Maastricht Treaty, or we can have the Bitcoin algorithm for mining, and the agreement change. Or you can have local currencies, even in Spain you have some of them. So it depends really on the kind of agreement we have. After the Second World War, you have cigarettes pockets because that was the means of exchange, and everybody agreed that that was money. So with cryptocurrencies, now we have a new agreement, which is decentralized, and with Commonfare, the project I'm involved in, we are trying to go beyond the boundaries of what's out there in the application of technology and the use of money, again, for the social good, for social innovation. Because Commonfare is meant to be a platform. We started last year. It will go live. I mean, if you can put on commonfare.net website, or if you go on commonfare.net, you're going to see that there is already a release there, but it's the first one. This month, we're going to go with a second. Next year in April with a third. And then in 2019, we will launch the fourth and final one. On Commonfare, we put information for people that we define in PIE conditions, P-I-E, because the Commonfare is the platform of the PIE News project. So the official project with the EU is called PIE News, which stands for Poverty, Income, and Employment News. And the idea is to put information on welfare provisions, because a lot of people doesn't even know their rights and what kind of benefit they can get from governments. And so they stay in poverty for lack of information, and so we want to fill this gap. Then we want to ask people, and we start with 3 pilots in Croatia, Italy, and the Netherlands, to tell their stories, especially the stories that they have when they can solve their poverty or low income or unemployment situations when they don't use the public benefits. And so they are ingenious, or they collaborate, and they solve the problem of they improve the condition independently from state intervention. And then the third part, which is what I have the honor to work at, and I have the luck to be in the right consortium to win the bid, is what we call support. So the idea is to give a digital currency system itself on the platform. And this digital currency system we are submitting this month the research deliverable for that, is meant to be, both a system to allow people on the platform to interact among themselves, but also a way to make the project sustainable after the EU funding is over. Because this project has many, almost all of them, some 2 million euros for 3 years. We are 9 organizations, and I can assure you that it's just enough to get to the end of the funding, but you cannot expect any of that money to go to then make the platform sustainable long term. So we got in the pie condition ourselves, and so we said, okay, we have to solve the problem of scarcity, and luckily there are a lot of bad sides, and this morning we've been reminded some of them about blockchain, but a good point is that it's digital money, and so you solve the problem of scarcity, not Bitcoin itself, I mean digital currencies and the blockchain. Because we can issue as many million or billions of coins that we want, we can distribute them to people, and at the same time we can, and we want to use the blockchain to go into the capitalist machine or capitalist monster, call it as you want, depending on your ideology, again, yin and yang. We want to try to build something that sounds like social capitalism, which is an oxymoron, but with blockchain technology, we think we can make it concrete. How? We take money from donors or philanthropists or people that want, to help other people with fiat currency, so with euros, dollars, or bitcoins to be converted, and we just want to distribute it through smart contracts to NGOs, or to build scholarships for students that are too poor to pay for university, or invent mechanisms on top of everything, which is one of the main pillars of the common fair economic model, deliver basic income, simply. You enroll on the platform, you can prove that you are poor or you're eligible for a basic income. It can be also unconditional, but we're working with people in poverty in the pilots with low income and unemployed. And you simply receive euros. And we want to make the platform, to incorporate the platform at the end of the day, at the end of the project, in an NGO itself. And through another project I've started to be involved in, and a colleague of mine is here, we started to work together a couple of months ago. The idea is to build up an ICO, an initial coin offering, so again, blockchain industry. Open a foundation in Switzerland, because it's the only place where you can incorporate structures to run ICOs in a legal way. So it's a non-profit foundation called YETA, so it's Y-E-T-T-A. And we want to serve common fair, so to funnel the money from philanthropists and give it to the common fair platform that distributes it at the individual level to organizations in all of Europe, because we think this is the only way to make the project then scale, because I don't know how many minutes I have, but I'm almost done, but the idea is that all these collective awareness platform has the little defect, as Antonella was saying, fundraising is a problem. The madam here today was like, if you have lots of money, give it to me because we need money. So the idea is to make it self-sustainable, and the only way that we saw, since philanthropy is a $1 trillion industry per year, we're just saying, okay, let's take it from people that is giving it away anyway, and just give it to the most needy that could be in Europe with common fair, but it can work globally. The idea, and what's differentiate this YETA protocol from all the others, is that the donation will come then from the speculative value of the appreciation of the crypto coin on international exchanges. So either you do it with speculation, and this is new, or if you really want, you just give a one donation, and we are sure that the money is going to arrive to the right recipient. So again, I gave you the snapshot of common fair on the money side, because it's what I'm working in the platform, but it's bigger. I told you there will be, storytelling. You can post videos. It's a sort of Facebook. It's a sort of social network to allow horizontal networking among people in pie condition. And we will hope that we will help people also to find the right information from the welfare state to the benefits that they can, they are eligible to. So I just closed now, just reminding you, please, don't listen to me, but get into the money issue more and more, because the more you will understand how that works, and a better society could be built for all of us. Thank you.
Marco, tell us a little bit, how do you see when is going this to change? Is it something in 10 years, 20 years, next year? And how do you see the future, the role of the money in the future?
Well, I don't have the crystal ball, of course, but there is the main, most important piece of data that you have to take into account is that all nation states in the West are broke. The next bubble will be, a sovereign debt bubble, like Greece, but sort of global. And what they will do, and I think it's gonna get some people in the street at this point, but also people with a white collar. They will switch from bailout, so we take people's money, taxpayer money, to pay the banks, so they're too big to fail, that they will not get bankrupt. It's gonna be the bail-in. We're going to take the money of the people to refund the state. And so for all the people that has more than 100,000 euros in the bank account, the state can take everything just to refund the state's cashier, the exchequer. And the funny part is that all this debt is sort of illusory, because money is created out of nothing. When you go to the bank, they give you the money as a loan. And we think that they give the money of somebody else that is saving in the bank, but in reality they just put the numbers on the computer and boom, the loan is created, And all the debt of our countries could be just sterilized and clean with a simple accounting entry at the central bank. They will just freeze it and we could just start from zero. But since this is a very effective social control system, they don't tell us, and they don't do it. So I don't know how long it's gonna be. That's why I tell you, get informed, because the more we know it, and the quicker we can get to a better future and the money system that can work for us better. That's how I can answer.
I don't know if they are good news. I don't know.
Well, listen to the message, don't kill the messenger.
Okay, thank you very much, Marco. Thank you.
Thanks.
And at the end, we will listen to Massimo Menicel. He's a project manager at the Fab Lab in Barcelona.
Make It es un proyecto de investigación centrado en el movimiento Maker como impulsor de innovación social y sostenibilidad. Ciudadanos que hacen y producen lo que necesitan. El proyecto será presentado por Massimo Menicinelli.
Hola, buenas tardes. Good afternoon, everybody. I will start by telling the history of MEFPAF in the last 12 years, or more, even more, almost 20 years, because I think it mirrors also what happened in the Maker movement, also in Fab Lab Barcelona, and how Make It fits into this. So my background is industrial design, so I studied how to design products and artifacts that can be produced by factories at mass scale. So when I started my university at the end of the 90s, was in Milan, which is one of the main industrial areas in Italy, and all the professors told me, you're going to learn how to design products, and then some factories here in Italy will produce, and you have to care only about one part of all the system design in that. So then, when I graduated a few years later, well, all of these nice factories already started outsourcing to China, so it wasn't that automatic that you could design for the industry, for mass scale, for local production. So things really changed a lot in a few years. And luckily, at least in the design world, we already started to think more about the localities, the cities and the regions where our projects are designed and where they end. So not just we design artifacts, but we design how these are used by people, by communities, where they're producing and how. So basically what I tried to do already with my final project in the university was to use design tools and approach for organizing communities in cities, in regions, trying to follow open source and peer-to-peer tools and practices, which already back then were interesting for finding a way to organize community of people and also to scale and work with other communities and have an impact. So the focus also in the design profession started also to be from just artifacts to working with localities and with communities and working on designing organization and supporting organizations. And also that was 11 years ago when I finished that. I started to realize there was this thing called Maker Movement, or in Spain you also know it by Hacedores, which is also a quite broad way for defining people who make things with digital technologies and in community and by sharing. But there was already a good example where actually we could work by connecting communities, but having an impact in localities. We have all these laboratories like Fab Labs, Makerspaces, where you have access to this digital technology like 3D printing, which is probably the most famous, but it's not the most used. There are several other ones like electronics, working with laser cutting, and CNC milling, so any kind of material, not just with plastic. And what the Maker Movement basically has been doing is democratizing access to this. So by giving access to technology, the space, the community, but also with education. So of course, this is not only about manufacturing, so you cannot compare the 3D printers that we have in a Fab Lab with the 3D printers that you can find at Airbus or Renault. They're of course a bit more expensive, they can work with other materials, but of course they're still under locked doors. Which is what you probably have seen with 3D printers since the 80s, 10 years ago. They were only closed, they were expensive, only few people could access them. And Fab Lab, for example, like Fab Lab Barcelona, which is the first one in European Union, we celebrate 10 years last March. I've worked a lot on this. So we started with one machine, two machines, more machines. And basically we can cover from electronics to a wall building, from software to working with textile and fashion design. And a few years ago, we also started another Fab Lab in the hills over the city, in a natural park. It's called Green Fab Lab because basically it works with biomass, with agriculture, with wood from the forest, with biology in order to understand how to make sustainable production and use the production to make more sustainable regions. So Fab Lab Barcelona is very important because historically has been one of the first ones, also of the size, the number of projects, but also for two other main reasons. One is that we've been focusing in the past years in trying to understand the impact, or at least how to improve what we do as makers at city level, city region level. So here again, we move from artifact to locality. So it's not about just bringing back manufacturing to the cities, urban manufacturing, which is a quite complex thing to achieve, but even partially, even just with the making movement and with more craftsmen and local businesses, what happens if we design something and then is used in the city, for example, for checking the quality of the air, for growing food in the city, and then we scale it with the citizens. This is not as bringing back factories in the city, but we have a huge impact in the city. So that's why we call this Fab City. So it's not a smart city. It's not just from the bottom up, it's both bottom up and top down, but the idea is use the making movement and technology just to change how things are done in the cities. Other things that we've been doing in Barcelona is more than giving access to the machines. So it's not the typical lab where you just pay, you get registered, and you get access to the machines whenever you want. It's been a space for experimenting and coordinating things in the World Fab Lab network. So we've been coordinating the Fab Academy, which is a distributed master in digital fabrication that takes place all over the world. We've been also developing FabLabs.io, which is the open source platform that connects all the Fab Labs of the world. We have 1,200 labs all over the world, and in Europe there are 600, so half of it are just in Europe, and we have 11,000 users, so it's really like a huge platform for giving support and co-organization. So again, you see there is the moving from just focusing on artifacture, on producing something, to understanding what this means in a locality and to bring support to an organization to communities. So make it completely fits into this because it's not a project where we are working on production itself. We are not working research in 3D printing or artifacts, but we try to understand how maker communities, how maker initiatives, be a Fab Lab, be a project like Arduino, be a commercial project, something else, how they organize, what is their governance, how is it structured, and how these basically translate to behaviors in the community, what is the collaboration, what is the dynamics, the values that they generate, and how these do create value and therefore also impact. So we're working more on, let's say, the more immaterial, the more social and process nature of digital fabrication. And for doing this, we started with analyzing in-depth 10 case studies all over Europe. Then we analyze also technology, what's already available, both for CAPS, for everybody, but for makers, and also we are thinking about ideas for improving this technology, and we are testing them with people in what's called actual research. So it's not just research that we do on our own, but we get people, get the users involved, so they have a role in that. This is something that, again, this is a 2-year project, so we also reaching the end at the end of this year. You can already find some results online, especially under results and deliverables, especially the 10 case studies, but we are still experimenting a lot, so there is still also room for participation of people, and you will see more towards the end of the year. Then the important thing that, again, probably has already been said also by Marco, 2-year project is not really a huge project in terms of resource, in terms of time. I mean, we can really just start, studying this world and try to understand how we can understand that. So also the whole idea of impact is very important, because we have been saying as maker, okay, this is a revolution, we're going to change everything, and then people ask how much, where, and what, and that's really hard. That's really hard for understanding also really what we are doing, how to improve that. Also, when we go and ask for funding and say, okay, well, if you give X, we can bring more innovation in this kind of way and so on. So that's really a tricky part, but it's important, for example, in making that half of the partners in the project are actually makers. So it's also a sign of maturity of the making movement to try to understand really what do we live in the world, not just, playing or even do education or finding people and so on. And this is a conclusion, I mean, why making is a digital social innovation. Well, on one side, also you've seen a very nice example today, I mean, use digital manufacturing technologies for creating solutions to very important social issues. On the other side, we'll say this is a really good way for spreading education in digital technologies. So if you manage that, you bring these technologies to children now, I mean, what they can do now in 20 years, now they already know how to hack hardware, software, and so on. Probably they won't be very passive to just, big platform, but they know that they can make technology. It's not just something that you receive passively. And the other thing is that the whole maker movement, I mean, it's basically something that, of course, I had support from media, university, even recently by government, but it's really a bottom-up movement. It's basically the more people that they start to know that, oh, they are like-minded people in other parts of the world. I never knew that in New Zealand or in Peru or in Norwegian, in Norway, they are people that we work together. We have the same idea. So actually what we're trying to do is also to bring these people together with all the difference, not just in time zone, but also in cultures, in tools. So that's why it's really a testbed for other also innovations in the future, not just for working with manufacturing.
Thank you, Massimo. I would like to ask you, I read your bio, you've been working on this through all over the world in different parts. You've been teaching, you've been writing books, all that stuff. Is there difference? You mentioned that there's a difference, of course, in the culture, but which are the main difference between makers from one part of the world and makers from the other, or inside Europe that you really know well? Which are the difference, if there's difference?
Well, first thing, to add more complexity, I haven't just been a teacher. Actually, since what happens, especially when you have something new, some new movement starting, there is no money, so you actually have to find all the jobs that are possible. So I've been lucky and unlucky at the same time that in order to make a living out of this, I work as a teacher, but also as a student, a researcher, consultant, even director. So that has been good for having different perspective of the same phenomenon, which is something that I think is important for the making movement, because in case you're not just doing one part, you experiment more things. So this is probably one of the we should learn from the making movement. And in the difference about the approaches in Europe, in the world, this is actually one of the things that I think that are very important, because usually when you think about these labs, Fab Labs, makerspaces, they should be quite similar. At least they should have the same set of technologies or processes that something is similar. And I've built some of them. And usually when I talk with people, when I build, I say, okay, but where is the manual where I follow it and I build my lab? And I usually say that this is not McDonald's. You don't buy the manual and you build the same that you can find here in any other kind of the world. You really have to understand what the local people, the local resources, the local organization need and can provide at the same time. So the good thing is really that it depends on the local, usually on the local context. And that's also important because, of course, you won't see one lab that is the same as the other, at least in approach and so on. But also it's important because this is not something that comes from above and you just have to put there, and some way, if you follow the rules, it will solve your issues. That is something, I mean, it gives you just a starting point. And then if you think to use about it for the local context, then you will really help people in your local context.
Okay, thank you, Massimo. Congratulations. Y ahora, bueno, ahora es complicado, pero lo que viene ahora.
So now this is going to be complicated, so if you want to make questions, most of them speak English and Spanish. So now we have the jam session, what is called the jam session, meaning something that is not structured at all. So you have to really take the initiative. And I know this is difficult for Spaniards because we're not used to speaking. This comes from the school days because we tend to think that only the teacher can speak. But I really invite you to ask for the microphone and to really make questions. I know it's tricky, I know it's difficult, and I know that somehow you have to break the ice. But I have a trick that always works. So I bring Santi to the stage and he cracks some jokes. But I'm sure someone else can talk about something interesting. I was talking over lunch with Mari Carmen, and she really has some interesting ideas. Anyone else? Anyone else who wants to take the floor? Well, while we wait for Mari Carmen, maybe you can talk about yourself. You can speak English, French, Spanish, or whatever. I'm going to be very brief. So I'm a wheelchair user, and I needed to electrify it. So I went to the market, and all I could get was a very, very heavy and bulky wheelchair, 30 kilograms, and I don't know how many thousand euros. All of them were burdensome, and they prevented me from freely moving. So I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to design my own wheelchair. So I designed my own scooter. It's like a scooter, like a small motorbike, trottinette, as they call it in French, that enabled me to adapt it to my wheelchair. So this scooter weighs 6 kilos. I paid 900 euros for it because it has a lithium battery, but there are some that costs just 200 euros. So I attached it to my wheelchair, and it's perfectly functional for me. And I won an award with this invention, with this device, because I disseminated it. And well, this is great. This is my new invention. And this is great. But I encountered some problems, nevertheless. For example, when I approached the technicians and the engineers, there were a lot of communication problems. They didn't understand what I needed. So then I approached an architect, a friend of mine who's an architect, and he devised he gave me some plans and sketches, and then I took these sketches to the technicians. But they said, okay, we can do this, but it's going to be very, very expensive because it involved a lot of time and resources and materials. So maybe a Fab Lab is the thing that I need when I need these kind of things. I used to be high school teacher, and I approached Fab Lab and I said, well, these guys, I have this problem, so please, could you please help me? Because I'm really stuck with this problem. No one can help me. No one can understand me. Do you think you can help me? Because earlier I approached high school and I said, maybe your technology students can help me with this. And they say, no, we don't have the time. So I went to the university. I approached a university department and they said, no, we don't have the time, we don't have the money. Forget about the patent because, well, I don't want to get it on a patent. It's against my philosophy and my vision of things because patents are capitalist, are part of the capitalist system. So I decided not to patent it. I just put it on the web and I disseminated this innovative idea. And this is an innovative idea because it is a modular wheelchair, a traditional simple wheelchair to which you attach something that makes it a completely new, different wheelchair. That way you can climb stairs or small stairs. Also, it's modular because you can add things. There could be a series of add-ons, things that you can attach to it for overcoming specific problems. Well, many things are possible and many things can be improved, but I cannot find a structure of technicians and experts that can help me when I have this good idea that can really materialize it, that can bring it, that can make it real. Yes, I absolutely agree with you, and I think the Fab Labs can help you. We've done several of these projects, similar projects before, always for personal needs. So it is true that our labs do not focus on producing or making things for people who need them. We teach you how to make it yourself because we want to empower people to create, to make their own devices, the kind of devices they need. But of course, it is true that debate, communication is not always easy. But of course, it should be easier in our labs. But of course, we want to focus on empowerment. This is what we really focus upon. And we want to enable people to use technology and how to structure manufacturing way, how to manufacture your own things. So there's still a long way to do, a long way to go. We have another campaign or another platform that is called Open Maker, in which we try to connect makers and companies and businesses. Because we, as independent makers, we can work quite well, but then when we have to work for a company, there is some problems of miscommunication and lack of trust. So we try to overcome that, yes. And we've been working for 20 years, and yes, I completely agree with you with the question of the issue of patents, and a patent is not the solution anyway because it will only last for 20 years. I have several examples. Yeah, I think one of our labs could be your solution if you want to have other projects done.
Well, my Spanish is horrible, but I'll try. There is an American platform called Patent Innovations or something like that. Let me double check if you want the exact name afterwards. And there, patients and people with health problems or any problems related to medicine can put forward some solutions, such as yours, and they put it into practice, they implement them in everyday life, and the best ones are awarded every year, and they can make it, they can manufacture it with a big industry. They get enough funds to make it come true in large scale as well. So this could be another solution. You should look into it. And I think open care can also be another interesting space, because there are makers who are working with health issues as well, and they're testing some functionalities now, and this could be another possibility for you to develop it and widespread it, disseminate it. Yes, Antonella is going to be the director, and Maximo will be your manufacturer. Jason will share it, and the money will go for me. Well, my idea is not to mass produce it. There is already a market for it. It's been designed by engineers. It weighs 15 kilos, and that does exist, and that's mass produced. I wanted to make it lighter, and I wanted to make it in a smaller scale. I want users to contribute. I want it to be. I want users to be involved in the making, and they can customize it, and they can take an active part in it. This is what I'm interested in. Thank you. Let's give it up for him. This is your jam session, so just say anything that pops into your mind. Well, as usual, it's a great pleasure for me to be here once again in Podura Live. What have you been doing lately? Well, I've been doing a little bit of everything. I've been volunteering in Zaragoza, where I'm from, and we've managed to push some projects forward, and with this cyber optimism, I've managed to give some talks somewhere, and I got many things in my mind, many projects, and I would like to create a search engine or a searcher for inclusive or adapted housing, which is housing adapted to people with functional diversity. Broader corridors, broader doors. They exist, but we do not know where they exist. Even if you Google them, you won't find them. I know they exist somewhere, but I can't find them. I've been hearing about those houses for years, but so we've decided to make them ourselves. I'm sure that your cyber optimism will help you get there. There's no doubt. Like Ines said, for this I need help. I need help because I came up with one idea. I got many others, but I need to find a way to realize them, to implement them. I need to have the appropriate approach. I need to know whether there is going to be a welcoming market for it. And for those people who want to be independent, this would be very helpful. And because many people do not wish to end up in a home where they have all the assistance they need. They could live in a house with ramps and domotics and many other solutions that could help us implement many things and have dignifying and appropriate housing. in my town, in Zaragoza, since the year 2000, new housing must be adapted to disabilities. I don't know how things go in Malaga, but back home in Zaragoza, I do know that since 2000 it is mandatory by law. Do you have anything to do with that piece of legislation? No, but almost. Well, I did take pictures of all the things that I didn't find appropriate. Yeah, I think you did have something to do. I knew you had something to do with all this. Okay, so here's your call, and if someone wants to join in to your idea, then I guess they're welcome. Well, yes, so far the project is called Inclusive Life. That's the name I came up with because I liked both words, two existing words, inclusive and live, and both together are great to me. Okay, I hope to hear about your success with this next year. Well, it depends on everyone's efforts. Yeah, come on down. Come on down if you want to say something. I'm not going to go up there to take you the microphone. Come down here, come on down. Just take a step forward, empower yourself. And if you're not going to say anything else, just go away, go away. Please come over, have a seat. What's your name? My name is Rafael Gutierrez. I came here with my son. First of all, let me congratulate the organizers, because this is the first time I come, and I'm really amazed. This is really a great motivation for kids like my son, who's wondering what he's going to do later on with his life. And today I got goosebumps when I was listening to the presentations. I'm a civil servant, so I don't have much to do what's been said here, but I think I am a social entrepreneur in the bottom of my heart. And for several years now, in spite of being a civil servant, I've been doing interesting things. And apart from the projects that were presented today, I think it's very interesting that families and citizens can also do their bit. We can also provide our motivation. It's very important that people in our society know that in families, within the families, we can do a lot. And I'll tell you what we've done at home since 2012. With all the crisis and all the whole thing going on, back then we realized that there were many people struggling. And me and my wife, we're both civil servants, we have a steady income. And since we have a blog, we started posting, discussing different projects we were involved with, projects on collaborative or shared economy, on children education, and we just shared what happened in our family. The blog is called 3 Children Families Looking for a New Place to Live, for a new world to live. Afterwards, this became a book. We published the book. We have the television over, and we were on television, 12 minutes on prime time. And they discussed there some of the things we did, what we used to do at home. So apart from this experience, I do believe that many people are obsessed with their work, with feeding their family, with bringing home some bread. And they also have the ability and they also have the skills to transform the world, even if they will not make a living with this, but they do have the ability to do it. And there are several projects we have seen that were great support for a large part of our local community. One of the projects is a social, it's a solar engine in a shelter where they converted an old mill. They converted an old mill into this new project. A social entrepreneur decided that instead of selling the mill, they would turn it into a shelter. And what happened is that the state was not being able to support people in times of crisis, and we decided to create new activities and help that mill to keep on with what they were doing. I didn't know anything about crowdfunding, and I decided to learn about it. This is one of the first solidarity projects we had in Spain, where solidarity was linked to innovation. And this solar mill is, came true. Everything we did, all the technology we had was open source. It's been replicated in Latin America, and this is, it's come true now. Looking back, I keep wondering, how did we started with the whole thing? I haven't made any money with this, but along the way, we have found that at the core, it was not the technology, it was people. And it was worth fighting for these people. And I experienced things I never knew. I think these kind of meetings, these kind of projects are great to motivate, to encourage people, families, NGOs to mobilize their resources and put people at the core, because there is a huge power to be used there. I don't need it. I have my own microphone, and let me tell you, events are very important, but the most important thing is people. So.
No, cuéntanos.
So do tell us your story. More about the family. I think it is working. My name is Isabel, and I'm involved in a project where I need people with a lot of cyber optimism, cyber positivism, and cyber motivation. I'm a consultant, I'm a marketing advisor, and I'm working on a project that is very related to positive impact entrepreneurship, which is the kind of entrepreneurship that is not aiming at profits at all costs. It is about making profit, obviously, with a positive impact on the community. So the person who launched all this is working in Madrid right now, but we have a small army of people. We've managed to get some people involved. We are all motivated and we're all moved by the same passion, which is to make a change in the world through companies. Our website is Impact Malaga. Impact Malaga.es. Right now, this network Impact already existed in other countries throughout the world, but there was nothing similar in Andalusia, and we are always complaining because the latest trends do not get to us. We do not know about the things going on elsewhere in Europe, and instead of complaining, we have decided to join that international network to make it happen. And we have some people here, such as Bevek, Natasha, who are also working on this. This is a patented international model, and if you want to necessary thing is to have values you want to transmit, you want to pass on through your company. In July, we were pre-selected. We have been shortlisted, but we need more people. We are a tiny army. We need more people. Shout it out at them. Yeah, if you're here, if you are aligned with us, join us. This is a yearly event, and it's not enough for us, but still, we could be a hub, a reference hub for impact. And whatever you might need, we will help you contact them. If you need to get in touch with the administration, with institutions, with other people, you will find your links here with us. And entrepreneurs, civil servants, people with who are already in the business, you're all welcome. You're all welcome. And that's it. That's it from me. Find us online and join us, because we do need people. I hope you tell us about your success next year. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Maricruz Blanco. I'm an architect and an urban planner. And it seems we've planned this before, but I'm specialized in universal accessibility and sustainable urban planning. And some time ago, I met disability from the approach of architecture. And I've ended up devoting my life to this, to universal accessibility. And in spite that there is the fact that there is a lot of legislation about this, it has not been really implemented. And this is why I decided to create a consulting agency with a multidisciplinary team. And our goal was to adapt things that were in a bad state so they could be used by anyone, by any person with functional diversity or disabilities. So we launched several projects on architecture, on urban design, urban planning, and we came to a point where we said that, okay, cities need to be inclusive, accessible. Some of the cities will be slow, some others will be emotional. So cities do have personalities, and back then we used to work with cognitive disability, intellectual disability, and mental health, and we decided, okay, that's true, cities have many values and many features, but they need to be happy. We need happy cities. We need happy citizens. And have you ever wondered how we can measure the citizens' happiness? We are all going to grow old, and getting older is one of the causes of not being related to your environment. So this is how we came up with the idea of having the Citizens Participation Lab, where we have emotion mappings and we identify the people with disabilities' emotions in the city. We have done this in Malaga, in other parts, and our goal is to show the administration the actual needs of the citizens. How can we find you? Accesibilidad con arte. Accessibility with art.com. Thank you. I think this is the last what the kite is going to tell us is that's the last thing that's going to be said, and because it's almost time to finish. Good afternoon, my name is Kite, I'm from Bilbao, from northern Spain, and let me tell you about my story, let me tell you why I started doing what I'm doing. I'm a telco engineer, I studied in Bilbao, and after trying out several jobs, I ended up in a research and development office, and this is basically what I've been doing. I've been developing things for a company. They were our own clients, and we well, they were kind of a subsidiary, a small one, and it was very interesting. It was a technical challenge for me, and I loved it. But eventually, we were requested to do projects in a non-appropriate way. We were getting data from people in a way I didn't like because it was not very ethical. So I decided to quit and start up a new innovation company. So far, it's just myself. And the idea is to have people such as our colleague in wheelchair and people who have small needs. We want to meet those needs ethically. I want to bring innovation to people in a comfortable way for them and for everyone else. I try to give back my knowledge to society. So this is the idea. I don't know what else to say. How do you come here? Why did you come here? Well, I came here because you were bringing together many different people with many different goals, and the common thing was to put people at the core. That was the common thing. So what I'm doing is about giving knowledge back to people. There is usually a gap between individuals and technicians, and we've seen this clearly with our colleagues' example. If you go to a company telling them about your idea and how great it is, they will tell you, yeah, but we need money for your idea, and since it costs money, we will not do anything with it. And I think it's sad. One way to sort out this kind of problems is just to do it because it's the best thing for everyone else. And if you don't make any money, that's fine, because there are many other ways to make money. There are many other industries, and that money is not going anywhere, just going to make bigger bank accounts. And the important thing here is knowledge. Knowledge belongs to everyone. It's not possible to have to learn things alone at home and not to make anyone profit from it. So this is the idea. My idea is called linking technology. And if you have any questions, just ask them. Thank you for your attention. Come over, please. Be so kind.
Pero ¿te has fijado que te vas a unir al selecto grupo de la gente que da un paso hacia adelante?
Yo lo doy como Lo que pasa es que hoy quería yo no darlo.
¿Quieres sentarte allí, por ejemplo? Pero eso se cuenta aquí con un micrófono, es que desde ahí... Pero no, ven aquí, es que tienes que venir aquí.
Bueno, pues quizás yo en primer lugar...
Congratulations, first of all. To everyone, to the City Council, to the organizers, everyone. Well, I work for the Malaga Province Council. And 4 years ago, we discovered a center called the Noria. The Noria is a social innovation hub. It's actually one of the first ones. And what we did was very complicated, and if we wanted to describe all this, then we would need our own congress for this. It's very complicated to tell interventors about social innovation. It's very hard to us to explain people who do not know about this field what we do. We're always willing to learn from someone else's experience. We are always trying to try out new things and put people at the core. We put people and social organizations at the core because social organizations play and will play a very important role. And now the time is ripe for social organizations to have the ability to compete with the private sector, because private sector have usually better trainings, etc. And now we can compete with them. And our goal is to create space for social organizations where they can create synergies to launch new projects and everyone can harness them. In La Noria, we have been working for 5 years. We've had private partnership for 60 projects. We have recently launched the Social Impact School, aiming at constantly looking for common benefit for all the citizens. We always try to have an impact. Public money, everyone's money must benefit everyone. My name is Maria Sanchez, and I work in the public sector. I'm not the only civil servant. I teach journalism in the Malaga University, and I'm here to give you even more reasons to come over to Malaga if you don't live here, because we are hosting more and more events and many people do not even know about them. Sometimes even the city council don't know even about this. Well, I'm going to present an international community that is in different places, and in Malaga myself and another colleague are the organizers, and basically what we are doing is what we started off in 2014 with an informal event. We do it for the sake of figures. We love figures, but we love people more. We put people at the core as well, and the format, the structure is just informal talks, 6-7 minutes talks with no technical terms, because well, my colleague is a technician, but I am not. I'm just a journalist, so this is open for everyone. For everyone who's interested in data and figures analysis. So we've had many presentations related to social innovation. When is it happening? Well, the next event will happen on the 19th of October in the frame of social sciences and humanities event. It's free, and if someone wants to come, you will be very welcome as long as you work with data and figures. There will be beer, and this is a great reason to come, and we always have a great time. We always have the best time, so you're more than welcome to come. So if you want to follow us, find us online. Thank you. Just very briefly. My name is Maite Moreno 19. Maite Moreno 19. My actual name is Maria Teresa. And I'm here to tell a guide that in the Basque Country, in northern Spain, there is currently a call from the Basque government for social innovation projects, including digital social innovation. And you need to hurry up, because you can submit your project until the 15th, until Friday this week. And well, he's alone, as he said, and he didn't know about this, and I wanted to let him know. And I personally work for Tecnalia. Tecnalia is involved in ODM and other makers projects, And I'm very interested in what Antonella Bassiani said before. I'm interested in makers and fab labs and everything that revolves around makers, fab labs and healthcare. So all this is very interesting to me, and if any of the people here is interested in this, please come over and talk to me. It's a great pleasure, and I wanted to give a hand to my colleague. We are colleagues, and we need to support each other. Yeah, you want to support him, not the rest of us. I don't know him, but we could be of some use for each other. Thank you. Be very, very, very brief. I'm Genoveva Garcia. I work for the Knowledge Foundation. Our headquarters are in Madrid, but we are also in Malaga. We have been in Malaga for 1 year. We're going to have a congress in Malaga on the 23rd of November, and we're going to talk about robots. We're all robots, but we are good robots. We've seen how drones. We've seen things about drones and technology that could save lives if it's used properly. So the idea is to start talking about this. We want to talk about the bright sides of robots. We're going to discuss many things on the digital contents poll. We're going to talk about robots and digital contents and video games. Actually, one of the projects which really amazed me is the project on malaria. This is where we need to keep working. So you're all welcome, you're all invited, and thank you very much. Be at the Digital Contents Bowl on the 23rd of November in Malaga. Hello everyone, my name is Carmen. I'm here with a group of young people. We all belong to the Malaga Association of High Abilities. We have our headquarters in Malaga, and our goal is to support children with special needs, because there are many young people who are highly skilled, but with our current education system, sometimes they do not perform in school because they don't have the resources, or they don't have the means. So we want to collaborate, participate, work together with everyone who's interested to support our children. There are 2 representatives here, and it's quite a few of us. I don't know whether you have any questions? No? How can we find you? We have a website called ASA Malaga, and there you'll find all the information. So if you don't use it, you'll lose it.
Daryl, you are here. Would you like to tell us something interesting or
that's working on looking at digital technology for social innovations. Specifically, our mission is to use blockchain, smart contracts, and cryptocurrency to advance social and civic causes around the world through a social capitalism model. So, there's a big dichotomy typically between socialism and capitalism, so the two ideologies. And my view is that the optimal world is people making money, improving the world, making money, helping others. And it's an interesting balance of how you can make money being a socialist. And with cryptocurrency, it offers some speculative value where philanthropists can actually money giving it away. And that's Yetta. If you want more information, email us at info@yetta.io. That's YETTA.io. And we are sending you our white paper. We're going to do some fundraising with philanthropists in November. Hopefully we raise millions of dollars to help social causes and show philanthropy, how they can make the world a better place by giving them an incentive to help others, making money, helping others.
Okay, thank you, Darren. I think we have nearly finished, no? Or not? Yeah, now we are making the photo. And also, you have already spoken. Yes. You have already spoken. But may I add the last, what you were.
Well, I think I'm done, but if I start again, then it's going to get another 10 minutes.
You can say thank you to the
Of course,
president.
thanks to everybody that resisted till this point, and thanks also for the presentation of the local community people, and thanks again, Malaga. That's all from me.
Thanks to you, thank you. Thank you for coming. Bueno, pues entonces esta era la sesión de la Jam Session porque hay una presidenta de la fundación muy...
So this was the Jam session, but now I have to give the floor to the association's president, who has very two clear ideas. The audience is as valuable as the keynote speakers, and also we have to give everyone an opportunity. And now we'll have a family picture taken.